All right. Hey, good evening. Actually, good night. Maybe I don't know. It's it's a different streaming time than like my usual time, but I really felt like I wanted to do some coding tonight. I have some time, and I wanted to spend it with all of you, basically. Well, this is late, Dragons, in on Twitch. Yeah, it definitely is. But well, I'm glad you're here. You seem to be like always on Twitch. I really appreciate that. Let me do the social media madness. Late night coding live. I don't know, something like this. Let's post it, and let's see. Blue sky. Come on. There we go. And like this. Actually, let me attach my image here on Pinkery. Wait, this is the right URL. Oh, no. Hang on. This is the right one, yeah? Okay. Cool. Send. Yellow, Philip, and code with Barum? Barum? Is that how you pronounce it? Chevywood _ Hello. Glad you're here. Let me check here. Oh yeah, I should also post it on the Discord, of course. We're live. Yeah, I actually want to address a question from Discord. Hello, Samuel. Hello, Yogarine. Glad you're here. So yeah, tonight for me, I just want to do some casual coding, right? There is lots of cool stuff happening for Tempest, and there are a couple of things I want to look at today. I don't have a truly proper plan, but I just came back from a good weekend. I went away with my wife. I told about this on Friday's stream as well. So without the kids, it was great. And yeah, now I'm back. My wife has some things to do this evening, and I was like, I wanna get some stuff done, and maybe we'll also just talk a little bit. And I want to use you as a whiteboard or a rubber duck. Just to bounce some ideas off. That's a possibility as well. Casual coding is what I'm doing right now. Just indulging. Well, I'm glad you're here, Yogarine. It's really nice. So yeah, that's pretty cool things happened over the weekend. So I went away, didn't check GitHub, didn't check my notifications. It was really nice, and I came back and there were like 14 pull requests for Tempest, new issues, great new ideas, people joining the Discord. It's always super cool as well. Let me check how many people do we have now. Can I see that somewhere here? 185. So yeah, it's growing, like slowly, of course, but it's pretty cool. Let me actually check, because today I wanted to start with a question from Discord here. Let's see. Philip here. Is Philip in chat somewhere? I don't know. Philip, are you there? Otherwise, you'll... Oh yeah, let me actually share my... Otherwise, you'll have to watch the replay. So Philip asked an interesting question here. Aiden, dude. Aiden was pretty disappointed that I wasn't responding to his messages over the weekend away with my wife. Yeah, well, Aiden, too bad for you. Can I zoom in? Oh, yeah, I can. Philip is here on YouTube. Okay, Philip, so this one's for you, okay? Philip asked this really interesting question. Is there anyone that knows the Tempest View package quite well? I have to admit, no one does. I wrote Tempest View, that component. I wrote it during a gathering with the PHP Storm team. I wrote it in between meetings. So, I hear the pling. Where does the pling come from? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so I wrote it during a PHP Storm gathering, so just in between meetings, I was brainstorming about an idea that I had, about a syntax actually that I had. Let me show you. So let's check here the views. So I really wanted to do something like this. So where you could use attributes for PHP syntax, very similar to, I guess, Vue and React. I actually don't really know React all that well, but I've written some Vue in the past. So, you know, I figured I wanted, if I'm going to write a Vue render from scratch, if I'm going to do that. So blank slate, right? Why would I want to essentially mimic what PHP is doing? Because is this really the best thing possible? So these special tags, right? And you're mixing PHP and HTML, and I didn't really like all of that. Blade, of course, I mean, nothing against Blade. Blade is awesome, but Blade takes a very simple approach when you check how they render views. They just, you know, parse. You write at for each, and they just simply parse it to PHP for each. It's a bit more complicated than that. But yeah, Blade is pretty simplistic, and really great. It's just a slightly more convenient shorthand compared to PHP. Similar to Vue, not React. Yeah, that's possible. Sorry, I don't know any React. So yeah, Blade does its thing. Then there's Twig, and Twig is great. I've talked about this on stream as well, but Twig isn't. The thing with Blade is, if you know PHP, you can write Blade, right? If you know PHP, you cannot write Twig. It's a different language, and you have to learn it from scratch. And it's very unintuitive if you're used to Blade, basically. So, but Twig has like, it's very good because you can just plug it into any project. It's a standalone templating engine. So, you know, people who aren't used to writing PHP and have to write Twig, for example, let's say you have a CMS where mail templates are like maintained by users, kind of technical users, but not entirely. You know, in those cases, Twig is really good because it's really sandboxed. You cannot do anything wrong. It's really safe, and it's, you know, it's a new language to learn, but that's fine. But as a PHP developer, I don't really like that. I like Blade because it feels so intuitive. If you can write PHP, you can write Blade, right? So I decided to went an entire different direction. I was like, okay, I'm gonna write a Vue engine, or I'm gonna try. By the way, you can use Blade in Tempest as well, or I've written one integration test for it. So there's that. But technically, or in theory, it should be possible to write Blade with Tempest. But I was like, if I'm going to start from scratch, why not think a little bit more out of the box? And I was like, we're writing a template engine, right? We're in HTML. Why do we need the context switch between PHP or another templating language and HTML? And then I was reminded of Vue, which I really like this syntax. Just, you know, much cleaner than you know, all the overhead here. And I know it's like a totally personal thing. It's totally fine. You don't have to agree with me. But this felt pretty cool, and I wanted to try that. And another thing, so one of the key concepts of Tempest views is that, you know, attributes are used for PHP code. You can still write just normal PHP tags, of course, that works as well. But you know, this is the more clean syntax, I would say. It's the thing I like. So if you have an attribute with a colon in front, it's basically everything that's in here is interpreted as PHP. And then there are special attributes like for each and if and else and for else and stuff like that, that aren't just interpreted as PHP, but there is a little bit more to it, because you're not writing for each post as post, you're writing for each equals, and then between as an attribute value, like the thing that goes into the loop. Okay, so that's one of the core concepts that sets Tempest Views apart. And then the other thing, it's not really new anymore, but view components. Actually, funny story here. If you're familiar with Blade components, let's check here components, right? Like really well-known feature in Laravel these days. This actually originated. I'm not going to take all the credit, but I worked at Spatie before, who are like big Laravel open source. And we were sitting around at the dinner table, and we were like, hey, what if we could have some more, I think it was inspired by Vue as well, or React actually, like React style components, but in Blade. And we were like, will that be possible? And we just went into the meeting room with 4 developers, and we started hacking Blade. And then Blade X was made. It's like totally deprecated now because it's now included in Blade. But I'm a bit proud of this because I was one of the people, not just me, but one of the people who helped create this syntax. And you can see how I'm still inspired by it, right? Like the colon attributes here, components, right? But this was hacked into Blade, and then later Blade incorporated it. So I wanted to, well, I thought, okay, I have a clean slate. How can I make it even better, right? And so it's very similar to Blade components, but there were small changes here. Everything that's wrapped within X component, basically this is the component, right? You're not relying on file naming conventions or stuff like that. There's also, so this is an anonymous component, very similar to Blade. And then you also have like the PHP class backed component, which actually we could very easily turn into Livewire style interactive components, but that's not for 1.0. So yeah, components here, but components, the cool thing, or at least I find it cool, is that there's no like extend or include in Tempest Views. It's all using components. It's all embracing like HTML, like the templating language, right? There's no context switching there between PHP or the weird templating language and then the actual HTML. No, it's all included here. So that's pretty cool. So instead of doing an extend from a parent template, you just make a component with a slot, and then you put whatever you want into this slot. And there are named slots so that you can have multiple slots, of course. And if you want to include something, it works exactly the same. So for example, here we have X input here, which also has a slot, but this is actually a pretty bad example. But over here, you know, X input, it's included into another file, and that's just how it works. So there's like this this attribute syntax, right, with the colons. That's one thing, and then there are components, and those are the two big things in Tempest Views. So the scene has been set. Hello, Adrian in Twitch as well. Let me see here. Serhi's here. Nice to see you. Victor as well. Hello, Jash, JTDM. You're waving. Hi. Very clean, says Farid. Thank you. Serhi says it needs to have a proper editor highlighting for that new syntax. I know. I've been talking about this on stream. It's too early to ask the PHP Storm team to just build it for me. Because, you know, no one is really using it right now. One of the things I really want to do is to extract this. It already is a standalone component, but I want to make a proper landing page for it as well, and kind of start to promote it as a standalone, truly standalone rendering engine. And I hope people will pick it up, whether they use Tempest or not, right? So yeah, Mohammed is here. Hello. Thanks for waving. And Nake the Lord is asking, what are you doing? Well, we're talking about, I'm taking a very long time to answer a question that Philip asked in the Discord. So, but we're getting there. I'll give you, I'll come back to it very soon. On Twitch, BDSL asks, have you looked at thime leaf templates for the Java ecosystem? That has a nice feature where you can view the source file as HTML directly in the browser with no need to run any server or any build step. Here's the thing. we're gonna come to this. There is no, it's a huge problem. There is currently, there is no compiled version of these view files. And I'm gonna walk you through it. Nake is saying here, it looks like a Blade component. Yeah, you can just rewind 5 minutes where I talk about Blade and how this came to be. Like this is the other part that's pretty important. And this is definitely not like Blade, right? Okay, so Philip asks this question. Is there anyone that knows the Tempest View package quite well? Struggling to wrap my head around it. Talking specifically about how the package functions internally and not how to use it. First off was, oh yeah, Aiden asks, I won't say I know it quite well, but any specific questions? Philip says, first off, was a basic flow, seems quite convoluted for what it does. We'll come to it, Philip. Unless I'm missing something. End goal is to implement a proof of concept on a feature request I added and another one in the works. Yeah, okay. So, not Discord. Yeah, well, I'm showing Discord here, Nick. So you don't need to be on Discord. You can just follow along. But if you want to join, it's very, very simple. tempestphp.com/discord, and then you end up here. Mohammed, you're asking, maybe you've already answered this, but what about performance issues if there's no compilation step? Yeah, no, I haven't answered it, and it's an issue. Well, it's not an issue. Well, it is, but Aiden, what's the problem? Let's get to the point here. Yeah. Let me run you through how this works. So we have a view renderer. This is the interface, right? I'm getting the sense we should refactor the view component. Aiden, you know, Aiden can refactor whatever he wants. When, let me see, when this pull request is done, okay? Yeah, when it's merged, I'm totally fine. You can start refactoring console, you can start refactor view component, but I'm gonna walk you through and explain you the things with the view component now. And we'll talk about it. Okay, so there's a question of how the flow works. There's a question of performance. Okay, good. So this is the interface that Tempest uses. It's very simple. You give it a string or a view object or null, and it returns a string. I actually don't know why is there null here. There's a reason for it, but I should refactor it. A view object, by the way, it's a value object. Well, it's an interface. It has some getters. We'll have to refactor those to property hooks, but it has a path, it has data, and then some other getters, not really, and eval as well, but nothing all too important here. A view is it's an object with data and a path, right? So, good. I have Tempest ships with 2 implementations. So the Blade view renderer basically just passes everything to Blade, right? And renders it with Blade. This is the Blade view renderer. This is what's needed to get Blade to work. Unfortunately, there's no like true standalone Blade package, so it's kind of a mess. But if people want to use it, they can. I was working 10 years ago on a template engine / components. Yeah, that's really nice. Maybe you can have some input here, Nick. So then there is the Tempest view renderer. This is one of those bigger classes in Tempest, and it's still like okay-ish, but yeah, there are some things going on. So the render method. This is the public API. There's nothing more to it. Everything else is just internal stuff, right? So hang on a second. I need to clean my nose for a second. So if the view is null, it returns an empty string. I don't know why this is needed, but there's a reason for it, and I might need to refactor it. But anyway, if the view is a string, we'll wrap it in a generic view object, and this is because you can pass straight HTML to this function. It's mainly useful for testing. Let me show you. No, actually, I need to base method here, or not. Hang on. Tempest view renderer test. No, it's basically for testing, but it might be useful for people as well. You can just pass in straight HTML or whatever you want, and it will render it as a template, right? So this is just a shorthand for convenience. Okay, so we have our view object, right? And we set it as a current view, which I need to refactor. Okay, I'm gonna say with every step that this needs to be refactored properly. We resolve the content for view. I'll come back to that. It is, it returns a string, right? It returns like the contents of the file, basically. And then we go parse it with as like into a DOM. We parse it into a DOM. And this is the main difference with Blade. Blade just basically replaces, I'm oversimplifying, but replaces the Blade syntax with plain PHP, and that's your compiled Blade file, and then you just, that's the cached version for Blade, right? It's just an HTML file with Blade tags. That's the cached version for Blade. But we create a DOM, and right now we use HTML5, which is the most popular DOM package for PHP, but in PHP 8.4, this will be built into PHP, okay? So it's gonna be, this is gonna be much more performant in theory. So, Nick, I saw your comments there. Yeah, could be really cool. Share it on Discord if you want to. I'm gonna like take a moment to explain this without trying to get too distracted. I'll also zoom in a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. So when we have our DOM, which is like just an array. No, it's not an array. It's a nested. It's a tree of DOM objects, like the plain PHP DOM. Like these objects, like DOM nodes, DOM documents, DOM elements, stuff like that. I can actually, let me dump it out here. Ooh, okay. And let's go to the Tempest view renderer test. Let's run this. Really slow. I don't know what's happening there. Nah, so it's a DOM document, and it has, you cannot see this when you dump it, but there are children in there. Okay, that's what this does. Then we, instead of just using straight up using DOM elements, we convert those DOM elements to value objects within Tempest, and that's the element factory that's being used here. So first up, we wrap the contents in a div with an ID so that it's just, so that we're sure there's one element in there. And then we get all the contents of Tempest render. So that just means that if you pass in like several elements without a root div, it still works. That's why we do this. And then we pass it to element factory. And element factory, so there's this, elements are basically just Tempest's representation of DOM objects, right? With a couple of like methods that Tempest needs, right? So you can, like, the setters here are mostly for internal use, but let's look at the getters here. So get previous, get parent, get children, and get data. That's basically what's happening here. So each element knows where it is in the tree, basically, and you get previous element and a parent element, which will be important for later on. And we basically parse the whole tree, the DOM objects, into elements, right? And there's some, some stuff going on here, but it's basically just converting DOM objects to element objects, right? For convenience. Okay, so up until this point, it's all pretty simple, I would say. Let's dump this out, and you'll see here. I don't know why my tests are so slow, but so there's a generic element here, and let's see it. It has a child, an H1 with a text element inside of it. Very simple stuff, right? Okay. So the next step, and this is where the real, I don't want to say magic, but like this is where the difficult part in the in the view renderer comes. It's to apply attributes. So let's go back to our example here. Say we have this span here. So we have this snippet, right? We parse it first into just plain DOM, and then we convert those DOM objects to elements. And then we have this somewhere in the tree, we have this span here. And we're going to loop over the whole tree, basically. We're going to parse the whole tree. And nothing's cached. Just putting that out there up front. Nothing is cached. I still need to work on that. And we encounter an attribute here that's prefixed with a colon. So let's say within the Tempest view engine, this is a special attribute, right? This is an attribute that needs something to happen with it. So we take our element, right? And we say apply attributes. And this will just recursively, it will go through the whole tree, right? And saying that, these two steps should maybe be combined into one for performance reasons. We go through the whole tree and we search whether we encounter any of these attributes. Yeah. If we encounter any of these attributes, something will happen with either the current element, right? Attribute element. So something might happen with the current element. Like for example, if this is false, then this element should be removed, right? It shouldn't be in the DOM anymore. But in case of for each, it's not going to do something with this element specifically, but it's going to use this whole element with its children, and it's going to use it as a template to loop over something. And instead of just having one list item here, it's going to add how many list items you want to this list here. And this is why you need to be able to access the parent from within a given element. And it will make changes it will add elements to this unordered list, UL, based on what's in here. Okay, and so the way that's modeled is with attribute classes. So for example, the if attribute is pretty simple. The if attribute, when we apply this attribute to an element, and we have this basically, this is parsed into a class, right? An instance, an object of the if attribute. And then it will call the apply method on this whole element here. So let me show you, let me dump that out here. Let's go to my view renderer test, and let's see here for if test is if attribute. So over here we render a div with an if attribute. If show, then basically this div should be rendered, and show in this case is false. So let's run this test here, and we should end up with our LD. Yes, so we end up here in our if attribute, and we have let me check here. We have a generic element, and these are its contents, right? This is the whole div, right? And so what we do next for this specific attribute is we'll get the actual contents of the string, basically the value of the real attribute here. So we'll say element gets attribute if. We could pass it in here as well, the value, because we already know it technically, but and this basically should be evaluated as a condition, right? In this case, that's what this show actually means within the context of an if attribute. And that already happens behind the scenes when you call get attribute. It already gets evaluated if there's a colon in front of it. And if the condition is met, we'll just return the element. And if it's not met, we'll not return this element anymore. We'll return an empty element. An empty element is basically means nothing will be rendered in the end, right? And you can see that here. So we have our if attribute, this show. If this show, it's applied on this whole element, and in the end result is an empty element, the first step, and I'll get to how it's converted to an empty string in a second. So and if this show is true, we'll actually end up with the whole div. Okay, things that make sense, right? So the last step, after having applied all attributes for the whole tree, loop through the whole tree, apply all attributes on all elements, right? The last step is, let's go back to our Tempest view renderer. Let's close all of this. Yep, this is better. Let's see here. We apply the attributes, and then we'll, like, after all attributes are applied, we have a modified DOM tree, right? Some elements have been removed or converted to empty elements. In other cases, there will be more elements added. In case of for each, for example, let's take a look here. We do some stuff here, right? But in the end, it all comes down to this. So we loop over the collection. We'll clone like the template element, so to speak, the list item. We add data to it for like this specific item, and then we'll return a collection element with all those elements in it. So then we get to the last step here. We're going to render all those elements, and rendering depends on the type of element, and basically that's just all the methods here. If you render a text element, some stuff will happen to determine whether, you know, some things should be evaluated still or not. If you render a raw element, we'll just get the HTML collection element, you know, we'll loop over all the elements, render them one by one, and then implode them and return them as a string. Rendering basically means we take our array of element objects and we'll convert them to a string, basically, because that's the end output. There is a view component as well. I haven't looked into those, but a view component is basically also just a special element within that tree, and it's a view component is re-rendered again with a specific set of data. So yeah. So Brent, you need to ban. I need to ban someone. Hang on. Yeah. There's some spam in Twitch. Oh. How do I ban someone? Traggets. Hang on. Pin. No. I don't know how to do that. Hang on. Follow. Whisper, invite. Oh, no, here. Hang on. Warn, timeout, ban. He's gone. / ban name. Okay, that's also possible. He's gone. Hey, welcome on Twitch, everyone. So, yeah. Okay. That is... let me see here. Tempest view renderer, we render everything to a string. Let's go back to our initial render function, right? Everything's rendered, we trim it and we return it, and that's the rendered HTML. So in short, how Tempest views work is that instead of just parsing the template file with regex, we parse it to a real DOM tree. Tempest uses like slightly different wrappers around PHP's built-in DOM elements, DOM objects. And then we apply all attributes and view components. Okay, view components are a little bit more complicated as well. They have their own little bit of logic there, but we apply the attributes that should have a special treatment, right? And then we render that DOM tree back to HTML. So, okay, here's the thing. Why is this difficult to cache? Because because we're parsing it into a DOM tree, right? And if you go here, okay, this could probably be cached somehow, right? The DOM representation of like the view file could be cached. That shouldn't be a problem. But then, or the elements actually, all of this can be cached. But as soon as you start to apply attributes, attributes are data aware, and you know data is variable within your view file, so you cannot cache this step anymore, unless I'm dreading this, but unless apply attributes doesn't like take into account the data and actually transforms the DOM tree. It could also just render a PHP representation of what should be shown, like similar to Blade, right? Instead of having what am I doing? Instead of having for each, Blade will parse it to for each, right? In theory, we could also have div for each, right? And instead of applying attributes and actually like using the data to manipulate the DOM, we could also do, we could parse this to PHP for each, and then do it like this. And yeah, and this could be cached. So the thing is, like, doing it this way has some drawbacks, and it also basically like completely refactoring the component from scratch. There are some drawbacks and limitations, but I can't remember what they were. But I looked into it. But in theory, it could work. Maybe doing this, just being able to cache up until this step is good enough. I don't know yet. So let's check chat. What are you making? Sweaty palms. I'm not making anything, but I'm like rubber ducking about a custom view rendering engine in PHP. I'm not sure why I never thought to use PHP end of line as an implode separator instead of an empty string. I actually shouldn't use PHP end of line. I'm doing it, and it results in some weirdly parsed HTML in some places. I still need to fix that. href amid is asking, should Tempest's component rendering capabilities be in its own separate package, or does the framework embrace MVC specifically? I'm not sure how these two are connected, but like if you're just talking about the view renderer as a whole, it is a separate package, but Tempest is just a mono repo framework, and it's split into separate packages. And you can use, even today, you can just type composer required Tempest view, and you'll only get, well, you'll get a little bit of Tempest as well, but you'll get mostly just the view renderer as a standalone thing, but it has some dependencies on internal Tempest components. But what are the differences in performance? Yeah, Sergio, okay, we'll talk about that. As contrasted to the console highlight packages, how do you? Yeah. So there is a standalone component there, href amid. I hope that I answered your question. So Ned is asking, how do you parse the element attribute as PHP expression? It's very simple. There's a function. It's called eval. No, that's it. Yeah. If you go to generic element, for example, and this is just a mess. I actually showed you like the proper parse, but eval is just calling eval basically. Like I find that the most difficult part is actually, it's not the things I showed you here, but it's scope and when variables are available where. So for example, over here you have a post. No, in for each is a good example. For each, hang on. Yeah, over here, you say this posts. And posts comes from the parent view, like the view, just the thing you pass into the view. And then you say as post, you create a new variable here. This variable should be available within this scope, but it shouldn't be available outside of that scope. Let me see. Also, when you're dealing with components, it gets even more complicated, because you can pass variables to a component, right? So yeah, that's actually like data scoping is the most difficult and most messy part actually right now. So yeah, I mean, like I told you I wrote all of this just in between meetings when I was at a conference, so don't blame me. We're gonna do some performance testing in a second. I already did that, but how do you parse the element attribute as a PHP expression? No, I answered that. Trezor is saying, "Hey Brent, hey Trezor, thanks for being here." Let's check Twitch as well. have you done some benchmarks and compared with Blade Twig? We're gonna do that, okay? Similar to Twig, BDSL is saying, it's also saying probably you can also generate a source map for step debugging. Yeah, sure. Lord Nake, you're on Twitch now. Good way to learn. You're saying one thing that catches my eye is this view variable. I will extract into this selected view or view to even more hydrate the methods. Eval is evil. Yeah, you know, but let's take a moment here because Blade is also using eval. So I mean, let's not, like, there are parts where using eval is okay. No pest without eval as well. Yeah, thanks Adrian. Thanks for having my back here. So different scoping rules to PHP, BDSL is saying. Right now there might be differences and there might actually be places where it's very counterintuitive and I still need to figure that out. In PHP for each doesn't create a separate scope. Yeah, that's a good comparison. I think it makes sense. Where was the example here? I should just use two hands and say for each. In this case, I think it makes more sense to just have post available within the scope of each template here and not suddenly have it available within the general view. That's just, the PHP is weird. So we're starting from a clean slate. I don't want this to be like Blade and just be like syntax on top of PHP. So I think that makes more sense, and we can think about those decisions. Can you pass beside for each data into scope in isolation? Not yet. You can pass data to components, right? So there's and that's automatically scoped within the component. But like there's no way to create a manual scope or anything. No, it doesn't exist. BDSL is saying, yeah, agree, no need to be bug for bug compatible with PHP. So yeah, Lord Nake, oh, you're a streamer as well. It's nice doing mentoring about PHP, Go to Rust, etc. Yeah, cool. How many people are here, by the way? I want to check it for a second. Let's see. I don't have a way to see it in OBS. How many people are watching? Oh, 36. Even though it's late in the evening, and 4 on Twitch. Okay, 40 people. That's nice. Thanks for being here, folks. Benchmarking. People keep asking questions and it keeps distracting me. Is there going to be a plugin for PHP Stan or Psalm one day to parse Tempest templates? No. Yeah, of course, if anyone wants to build it and while they're at it, also build a plugin for PHP, PHP Storm, that would be really nice. But I only have a limited amount of time in my life. So yeah. Let's try some very crude PHP benchmarks here. Tempest view renderer test. Benchmarking is always such a difficult thing because, you know, there's no way to do it right, and I'm gonna do it wrong. I'm putting that out there up front. These benchmarks will be wrong, okay? But it might give a feeling of what it actually is about. Okay, test benchmark. So we want to have Blade and Tempest views besides each other. So, and I think, what should we benchmark? What should our view look like? I think it should look something like this. So we'll have a div. Actually, I also want a component. That's pretty important as well. So let's actually, maybe I should just create a clean Tempest project. That will be better. And then I can do it once again. And maybe we'll run into some issues. Oh, I hope not. Let's do it like this. Make dir TA. I use TA for, oh, no, I should, composer create project Tempest app 1.0 alpha.2. Yeah. I use TA as an abbreviation for Tempest app, by the way. Let's open it in a good old PHP Storm. Ta. I'm also currently following music lessons, like very basic, and ta is one of the ways to pronounce the rhythm, right? Ta, ti, ti, ta, do. Anyway, sorry for that. Okay, let's see here. Let's create a simple controller. Oh, look, there already is a home controller. That's really nice. Let's say Tempest serve, right? Okay, and so like this is just I'm not running npm run dev. Yes, and what I do want to do is I do want to enable discovery cache here, because, and we're going to do the same for Laravel as well. So true. Okay, that looks nice. So home controller, what I want is a simple component here. My component.view.php. We'll say x component name equals x foo, doesn't matter. And then we'll say, oh, PHP CX fixture, come on, mute. Let's just do this. Go away. I'm just give me a second to write all of this. I'm gonna try to ignore chat for a second, okay? So x component, and we'll say div if show, and we'll say hi, and div else we'll say hidden, something like this. And then we have our home view, right? And let's just say x foo was it, and then faux show equals true. And it doesn't work. Oh, if. Uh-oh. That's already problematic. That should work, I think. Let's see here. Let's dump. Should it be this show? Didn't I fix that bug? No. Hang on. Yeah, okay, that's there. Uh-oh. Ah, no, I know. Hang on, I know what's going on. I enabled discovery cache, of course. Yeah, now it's a 500. Hang on. Hang on. First, let's first get it to work, okay, and then we'll enable caching. That's probably now I have to restart my my server here. Okay, now it works. Now it works. And let's remove that. Okay, undefined variable show. It should be this show. I actually thought I fixed that. Shown, hidden. Okay, good. Now, let's say let's say posts range 1 to 100. Then we'll say for each. Yeah. I hope this works actually. For each this posts as post. See, that's the problem with like not having any auto completion. Okay, now there are 100, and now we want to do this if. Let's actually do this. Shows as shows, and then we'll say array import. Hang on. This is just map function random. I want a boolean, basically a random boolean. Okay. And it doesn't work. I should probably call to array. Yeah, okay. Okay, now we have 100 elements. Okay, and we'll build this in Blade as well, in a clean Laravel project. Okay, let's maybe do that right now before we start like doing weird things. So Laravel new Laravel app. Which also happens to be one of the notes I have to learn in music school. Anyway. Okay. So cd la. Oh no, I made it in. Hang on. Laravel new la. Let's wait for a second here, and then we'll say we'll open la as well. Ta and where's la? Oh, this is gonna get so confusing, I'm afraid. No. I wanted to attach. Hang on. Dev, and now we need ta. Open, attach. Yes. Now we have ta and la. Tempest and Laravel. Okay, clear? Yeah, makes sense. Do re mi fa sol la si do. Yeah, and you know, like this is the Dutch notation, Tragits. I know you're Dutch as well, but I think like in the US and the UK they use A B C D or where did they start? D E F G A B C, something like that. Don't ask again. Okay, now we need in la. We need to have a controller. Oh. But hang on, we have a controller here. It's an abstract controller. Home controller. How did we register routes again in Laravel? Invoke. And then we'll return a, I don't know. Hang on. No, this is ta. I need la. Artisan make something like view component. Oh, this is not interactive. Grab a view. No, component. Probably component. Make component. I need make component. What should the component be named? Foo. And it's created. Okay, good. And now we need to return view. And view home is somewhere else, of course. No, not here. Resources. Views. Okay, we'll say home.blade.php. La also means drawer. That's true. Yeah, in web.php. I actually know that. I know that. Let's see if this works. Serve, is that the same command here? Server is running. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I need to web.php. Oh no, let's welcome web.php route, and we'll say we'll go to our home controller. Okay, we have this. Now we have a Blade component somewhere in another folder. Where's the view? Components.view. That's in another folder as well. Oh, that's over here. Sure. Hang on. If you, I have Laravel IDE enabled, by the way, or haven't I? IDE plugins. Oh, I don't have. I need to renew my license. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have it enabled. Be present above all else. Sure. I can close this. Oh no, it's in the same project, of course. I don't know if I like that actually. Hang on. La ta home and my component. This is what I need. So, oh, this is so long ago. If show, shown, else, hidden. And if, and then we'll say in our component here, we'll pass in an array show, and we'll say random 0 to 1. And then we'll parse it as a boolean, a bool. Yeah, and then in our home, we'll say at for each range 1 to 100 as I, and then and for each, and then we'll say div, we'll say x, is it x foo as well? And that should be it. Yeah, okay. But this is, hang on, now we'll say Laravel, and then we'll open our other home, .view.php, Tempest. Tempest is going to be slower. I can already feel that while refreshing, but let's say in tar, we say Tempest serve, and we'll say localhost on another port. Ooh, yeah, it's a lot slower. Look at that. We'll do some proper benchmarks. But yeah, you can. I don't have. Hang on a second. I need to now do some caching, but it's only gonna make Laravel faster. So discovery cache true for tar. Yeah. And then in Laravel, I need to cache warm something probably. Hang on, in la. Hang on, cache. No. Grab cache. View cache. Compile all the applications blade template. View cache. It's not gonna make it work. Yeah, this is not good, not good. But I mean, I expected this to happen, right? Didn't I say this? Artisan optimize. Is that a optimize? Oh, that's actually a command. Okay, I didn't know. Thank you. Oh, it's so sad. No, now we're going to be AB. We're gonna localhost. This is the Laravel. What's the problem here? I need to. What's it? Okay. Let's actually do 500 requests for Laravel, and then we'll do 500 requests for Tempest. Yeah. Can you check the network response times? We can check everything. Oh, it's so sad. Hang on. This is the Laravel version, right? Is it? Oh, it's not done yet. Okay, time per requests 11 milliseconds. Oh. Okay, so I will need to rewrite my view rendering engine. I think I'm not even gonna wait for this. Time per request 250 milliseconds. Right. So let's not look at requests per second because it's PHP's built-in server. No, but folks, this is okay. We're learning, and this was totally expected, right? Because I'm not caching anything, but still it sucks. So my first my first thought here would be to there's room to improve. Thank you, Tregets, for your optimism. Now, my first thought here would be to actually cache, and that should be pretty simple. I won't do it on stream because it won't be pretty simple, but was in a Tempest view renderer. Yeah, the first thing I will need to do is cache up until this point, because up until this point this can be cached into a PHP file. You know, it's that's fine. So then we don't have to do any DOM parsing, and we don't have to do any element parsing. We still need to apply attributes. Yeah, now we need to determine actually, would it be very difficult, just as a proof of concept, to add some caching here? Because okay, let's try. Let's try. Okay. What I'm gonna do is create a view cache, right? Implements cache like this, and use is cache. This was on my to-do list anyway. So, let's see here. And now the cache pool, I need a PHP. So let's Symfony cache, because we're using Symfony cache adapters, and we can use anything that's available. And I think I want PHP array cache adapter or PHP file cache adapter. I don't know what's the difference. Similar to file system, this cache implementation writes cache entries out to disk, but unlike the file system cache adapter, the PHP files adapter writes and reads back these cache files as native PHP code. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, that's what I need. So I need this. Okay. So let's import this. Namespace doesn't matter. Default lifetime doesn't matter for now. Let's just use the defaults. This is so stupid. Yeah, let's use the defaults for now, and we'll just say return. Okay, so that's our view cache in place. That's all we need to do actually. Then we go to our view renderer and we'll inject it. Just another dependency. View cache. Okay, we can make that read-only. Remember to use PSR6 caching for no, but we're using PSR6. This is just Tempest has a small wrapper on top of PSR6 because PSR6 is overcomplicated for many of the use cases. So, and now we can just say, we can basically say, look, element equals this cache, view cache, resolve. We need an identifier. Still need to figure that out. It should be the view path, I guess. And then we'll say cache. Let's actually wrap all of this in a closure. Like so. And then we'll say, oh no, not apply attributes. Return. And then contents. Actually, we can get the contents here as well. There's no need to do that. So let's see whether that works first. We can just run our Tempest view renderer tests here. Please, oh no. Cache key length must be greater than 0. Okay, that's solvable. Hang on. So we basically just need to get the path and base 64 it as. So it's a stupid solution for now, but base 64 encode view get path, something like that. Does that work? In Livewire we use CRC 23. Okay, what's CRC 32? CRC 32. I want to use CRC32. CRC32. There we go. What does it return? What's the error here? Huh? String int provided? No. Huh? CRC. Oh, it returns an integer. Oh, no, I get it. Okay, so I can just can we do string? Something like that? So it kind of works. Let's just try it out. This is just for our benchmark. I don't know if it will work, but we'll see. So if I just go to oh no, I closed my servers. Anyway, this is cd vendor Tempest. Let's remove the framework folder here, and then symlink this one. So now we're using like our patched version. Let's see. No, this was Laravel. Oh yeah, closed. Let's go back and let's say Tempest serve localhost. Oh no. Oh, we cannot just symlink. Hang on. Oh, that's annoying. How can what's the easiest way to solve that? New branch, view cache. That's the easiest way. And push. Yes. And let's say composer, composer.json, please. Yes. And we'll use, oh, this is the Laravel one. Hang on. Tempest, and we'll say dev view cache. Composer up. Hang on. What's the advantage of CRC32? Perceptic asks, and it's way faster. Okay, but that's good to know. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, so we are using the right branch now, right? And then we can Tempest serve, I hope. Hang on, Tempest serve. Okay. The thing is, it caches too much now. Hang on, never translate this website. Go away. It is faster, but we're caching too much. Just for let's see, what was the yeah, that's faster. And yeah, and see, this is what I was worried about. I mean, it's much faster. It's not as fast as Laravel, 28 milliseconds. Laravel was 11, I think. But yeah. So there might be something here, but of course my tests are failing. And it makes sense because I'm caching too much. Or, well, probably not caching too much, but I'm already reading data here. Is my guess. What happens if I do this? Let's see if my tests run. No, they still don't. So yeah, that will require a little bit more figuring out. So because you see, resolve content, I haven't told you that, but it will already evaluate a file. So if there is just plain PHP code, it will be evaluated when resolve content is parsed, resolve content isolated. Yeah, it's just including the path, right? So, and it's parsing all the PHP data, stuff like that. So, okay, good. But this is a start. I mean, it's obviously not working now, but that's up to me. And I guess that if I can fix this, it will. Hang on, localhost. How much was it? 22 milliseconds, something like that. While Blade was 11. I'm fine with that, I think, for now. I think if we can draw one conclusion from this benchmark, it is that indeed parsing to a DOM is probably one of the most intensive parts. Do you have opcache installed? It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to make this number as low as possible. I just want to compare whether time per request with or without caching enabled is faster or not. And it's significantly faster. Even if we don't cache the actual attribute applying, it's still a lot. Let's see here. Where's the render? Yeah. So it could very well. It needs a lot more testing. So what I'm gonna do next, but I'm not gonna do it on stream, but I'm gonna move this out and I'm gonna move this out and only cache the DOM part, right? I can do it already. Let's try it, okay? Let's see if this improves it. And then let's use contents here, and we don't need view anymore. And I actually think that maybe it has something to do with view path, but let's see if our tests work. No. Call the F5, get view by ID. Oh, maybe this isn't easy to serialize or something like that. Yeah, so it will require some more testing, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. And I don't aim like to be like 10 milliseconds is okay for me, because remember that like Tempest has other caching mechanisms as well. Static pages come to mind if you're like really building pages with lots of content that don't require any dynamic interaction. I'm totally fine with performance being not as good as Laravel for now. Do you have opcache? Oh yeah. So Adrian was asking about opcache because Tempest uses more objects. Would assume it benefits more than Laravel. I think that's all worth it, to be honest. Your way would allow for some really interesting custom attributes in the future. And this is like the thing I don't want to give up. I was writing like these attributes. I don't have a lot now. I don't have a lot, like for each, else, if, else, for else. I was able to for Blade it's impossible to implement for else because Blade is just compiling to PHP, right? But here it was pretty trivial to implement it, and let me show you for else. So you have a for each here, and then you have a for else, and this is shown when the for each is empty, right? And this is super cool. These are the things you can do because you just have access to the DOM, and you're not constrained by like regex being parsed, you know. Okay, now we kind of know, Sergio is saying on YouTube, that loading the DOM structure every time has a big impact. We do not know exactly how much better or worse is your approach with rendering the actual HTML than simple PHP. It's true, yeah, but that requires a much bigger refactor. So let's first take this step, right? And then we can improve it on it some more. But I'm hesitant to like refactor everything so that it's parsed to PHP files because it's gonna remove some flexibility that we have now, right? If you if you don't have the data, like the real data available while you're parsing your attributes, that's basically the difference, right? If you would switch to compiling everything to normal PHP, you wouldn't be able to make any assumptions based on the values that are passed to your attributes. That's the difference. And there, like, you could do pretty cool stuff with that. So yeah. You're going to use view contents instead of path. No, yeah, but that's fine. Jacobs, you're talking about over here a view, a get path. It's actually something I need to refactor. But get path could return a file path, but it could also return just the contents of the view if it's an anonymous view. If it's just if you pass in just HTML into here. But I think it should work the same, right? Should make a difference. Do you think something like what Vue does with render functions will work? I don't know what does Vue does with render functions, Sergio. So yeah, Laravel has at empty. I know, but it's hang on. You need to. That's the thing here. You need for else as like the loop, right? You need to start with for else and then at empty and then end. At end for else. So, but this is totally counterintuitive because you're writing a for each loop and then you realize, oh yeah, I need an else statement here, and then you need to switch the whole for each, which is compiled to normal PHP. You need to switch it to for else, which is a custom directive, I guess. I don't know how it's implemented in Blade, but and then you can have at empty. But this just when I wrote this kind of code, it always bothered me. So anyway, but it's a small thing, I know, but it's the small things to me that matter, you know. Or no, I shouldn't, like, I'm totally fine with Blade. I mean that it's I have the blank slate, so I can think about the like the small details and maybe make a small improvement there if we can get performance good enough, of course. Skill issue. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you. So, do you write more regular code or test code? Oh, I just write one integration test and I'm done. And it always works. Is Aiden still here? Aiden, are you enjoying the stream as well? Brent pronounces regex the same way Alberta Tech does. How to pronounce regex? Regex? Regex.
Regex.
Regex, yeah, I'm saying it. Hang on, American.
Regex.
Oh no, I'm actually pronouncing it in the American way.
Regex.
While I should pronounce it in Britain. Regex. Regex. I should say regex. Regex. Yeah. I don't know. Regex. Regex. Something like that, right? So, anyway, all of that to say, I don't know, Philip, are you still here? Philip, I hope I answered. And I can't write it. Answered your question. No, there is a lot regular expression. Regex, yeah. Just like it's GIF, right? I hope I've answered Philip's question. Oh, you're still here, Philip. Hey, I know there's still a lot of work to be done. Honestly, I know. It's why this is still not a like a 1.0 release, right? These are alpha releases, and I think it's a good time to address performance issues, and I will do that. I do think that like the internal structure is once you know like what all the components do, it kind of to me it makes sense. I could explain all of this without having to think too much about it. But it is definitely, together with the ORM, it's the most complex part of the framework. And yeah, like if there are two parts I'm a little bit scared of touching, it's the view component and even more like ORM database stuff. I really hate ORM database stuff at this point. No, but yeah, we're improving. So I mean, I'm totally open for feedback here as well. If you really think there are things that could be improved, that should be different for a very good cause, then I'm totally open for it. I'm not married to this view component. What I do like, what I find the most important is, that you can write, let me see here. I want to be able to write this basically, and I want to be able to have components, and I want a template engine that stays as close as possible to HTML, to the language I'm writing, and doesn't require me to context switch as much. That's my goal. And if people don't like that, I mean, they can use Blade or Twig. I could also add Twig, by the way. Twig is much easier to add than Blade. It requires a little bit more config, but anyway. Yogurine, I'm not even gonna read your comment out loud, but thank you. Sergio is saying, my idea would be to compile to something like that or similar to that, which will remove the need to parse again the source view every time. Yeah, but what is that in this case? To compile to what exactly? To PHP, plain PHP code? That would mean we miss out on some dynamic data during the compilation phase. So, yeah. Victor is saying, I heard Taylor doesn't like touching eloquent code neither. Yeah, that's... thank you. I have a similarity to Taylor Otwell. Is BDSL on Twitch is asking, is the ORM data mapper or active record style? It's a combination of both, actually. Yeah, no, it's technically it's data mapper, but it feels it feels like eloquent. But as soon as you need more complex stuff, there's a very similar. Let me actually show you if you want to. Models, where's models here? So this is what a model class looks like. Just PHP objects, right? As little config as possible. You need to define the doc block here to know what goes in this array because we don't have generics. And then you just map whatever you want. It could be a JSON file, could be like a query from the database. You map it to that class. That's the theory, but then you end up with database mapping specifically. And database mapping specifically, just, mapping a relational database to, like this is like the common problem with ORMs, right? There's relational data in tables, and you cannot easily map it to an object model in PHP. And that's just that. You need to transform that data somehow, and there are some weird things you need to do. So yeah. So like simple example, but let's say you join on two tables, so book, chapter, book, and author or something, and you want to receive the author with all its books and chapters. You can write it as one query. But then you have a row for every chapter, right? So you have multiple times the same data for authors, and you have to map that into one author object and then multiple book objects, and and it's all possible. It works, but let me actually show you what I wanted to show you here. Yeah, this is the API that's on models. This is a typo. This should be database model. So all, new, create, update or create, find. It feels very eloquent, right? Save, get ID, doesn't matter. Update, load, and there's no delete yet. That's a to-do. But you can, like, once you go to like really complex relations, you should just make your own queries. Basically, that's what Tempest says. The API for the model query builder is very limited. Looks like it might be a combination of both, or active record with the public function save self. Yeah, but like underneath public function save, what it does is just, it reaches into the container, which is such an anti-pattern, I know, but it's so convenient when you were talking about models. It reaches into the container and it gets a mapper, and it maps the model object to a query, basically. And that query is then executed on the database. But it's just, it doesn't have to be here, but it's just here for convenience. And I tried to do it without first, and I just got so annoyed. I'm so used to Eloquent, and it's just, I know it's not clean, but it's convenient. It really is. So yeah, wow, what a rant. I haven't written any code this evening. And how long have I been streaming now? Let me see. For an hour and a half. But this was interesting. No, I wrote some code, right? I wrote we experimented with cache. So haven't spent, the old man is saying this on YouTube. Hello, old man. Haven't spent a lot of time researching Tempest, but I quite like the way you've implemented models. Feels a less magic than Eloquent. I think the thing with models like this, I wanted to use the PHP type system as like the main, like the starting point, right? And work around that. And yeah. That's the idea. And one of the cool things is, if you have such a model like this, you can actually map JSON to it, and XML to it, and a database query to it. And it, for simple models, it just works. Doesn't matter what the data source is, but in case of like complex relations, it will be a little more difficult. Although if you, like, for the database, there are quite a lot of exceptions to map relations. But if you start with a JSON file, it should actually work just fine. You could also do it all the way around, by the way. You could just map a book to a JSON file, and then it will just serialize it basically as JSON. So 100% is one of my biggest gripes with Eloquent. Yeah, like the magic, right? But you know, Eloquent originated in a time where there weren't any typed properties in PHP. So and it would be very difficult to change Eloquent models suddenly to have all of this. So with Eloquent, like, the source of truth is actually your database, right? This is Active Record. It's your database, and it maps to an object, and that object just has magic getters and setters, and it maps all the data into it. While within Tempest, you start with an object, and the database or the storage mechanism is kind of just like a second thought, in theory, because relations are complex. Hey, let's check here Twitch chat as well. BDSL, this was one of the things that put me off Laravel most, not having normal PHP statically declared properties in model classes. Barry's helper helped me a bit. I don't think Laravel IDEA existed back then. Yeah, I know. I feel your pain. There weren't type properties in PHP, but there were declared properties. That's true. And then you could rely on doc blocks. It's basically what Doctrine does, right? Doctrine does this. But Doctrine requires a lot more configuration, like Doctrine with attributes these days, which, I mean, Doctrine is much more powerful, of course, because it has a lot more configuration. Is this the up-to-date? No, this project is no longer maintained. Hang on. Getting started with Doctrine. Give me an example. So yeah, one of the differences with Doctrine is that there's the entity manager in between, of course. Give me an example. Okay. So yeah, so Doctrine does kind of the same, but then you have to add for relations a lot of attributes. Hang on. Doctrine has many. Let's just search it like this: association mapping, blah blah blah. Yeah, like this. And you generate all this code, of course, because no one wants to write all of this. But Tempest just makes a lot more assumptions, basically. So yeah. What about cycle ORM? Oh, that's a long time that I've heard of cycle ORM. Yeah. I think a good example is always has many relations. Yeah, targets. So in Tempest, so this I find stupid. No, not stupid, but so if you want auto completion on this array, if you want to know what should go into in this array, you need to define a doc block, right? If you already have a doc block, why then you know what model it relates to. Why would you then have to add a target here? Right, that's my reasoning. You need to parse a doc block, but it's fine. Are you Eastern European? No, I'm from Belgium, Western European. So yeah, considering Jacobs is asking this on the YouTube chat, considering the strict typing final classes, what if I wanted to override a part of framework? Jacobs, it's late in the evening, but you've asked such a nice question. Oh, how I would like to take a deep dive and talk 2 hours about how you do that. Instead, let me redirect you to one of the videos. Actually, just my latest video here. Inheritance in modern programming languages is different. Just watch this video and then read this blog post. And then you'll understand. It's a long blog post. Oh no, there are a lot of comments. Is this the right blog post? Yeah, it is. When I read this blog post, it's an old blog post, right? But this is when Go and Rust were like new and introducing new ways of inheritance. This is yeah. Watch this video. It will be better than me trying to ramble about it right now. But I dare to make the claim that except for 2 classes, I think everything in Tempest is final. There are no abstract classes, only interfaces. You use traits for inheritance, and you're not gonna run into any issues with final, right? I'm fairly confident about that. I've written quite a lot of code with Tempest now, and it works just fine. So I know that's a bold claim. Go watch the video if you don't believe me, and read the blog post. Question: at work, I am creating classes made up of other classes. Yes. These classes are just implementations of interfaces. Am I still doing composition? Hang on. So you're creating classes made up of other classes, right? So one class, and it has a lot of dependencies. Is that what you're saying? And then you're using those dependencies to do stuff. These classes are just implementations of interfaces. Yes, it makes sense. Am I still? It sounds like from that one sentence that you were writing here, it sounds like you're doing composition, but don't quote me on that. Victor is asking, did someone just mention the extend word? Yeah. I can. I'm not going to go in the rabbit hole right now. Let's check Twitch as well. There weren't type property. Hang on. As far as I know, Doctrine can use the PHP native types right now. We're using Doctrine. Yeah. If you want a doctrine mapping example, this is what I would work on. Let's check it out. Oh, oof, hang on. Let's copy the copy current address, I guess. No. Hang on. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Now this is a good example. Yeah, now you have your methods on your entity, right? This is your, yeah. So just out of curiosity, it's been a long while since I've written Doctrine, but why not move these kind of like methods that work with your entities? Why not move them to the repository or even somewhere else? Is there a reason for that? I don't know if it's just best practice or not. Yeah. Adrian is saying, I love to extend classes that extend classes and so on. Adrian, no, I mean, go read the blog post. Go watch the video. This video. Go watch it. I'll share a link in chat. Paste. Watch this video and please also read the blog post in the description. Please do it and try to keep an open mind, and then just realize, like, mind blown. I promise you. Ali's asking, what is this? Honestly, I don't know at this point anymore, Ali. We're just ranting about framework design, basically. But it's fun. We started out, Philip asked the question, basically. That's what we're doing. So I actually think that I'm gonna wrap up the stream for today. This was fun. And productive as well. I mean, view caching, I need to work on it, and there's a branch now, so I can work on it. So about my Doctrine question here to end, BDSL, you're saying, I just like to keep related things together in a method. If a method uses properties of a class, I like to make it a method of a class. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Has the advantage that then more properties can be made private. Also good point. So yeah, blame Philip. Yeah, Philip, I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, thank you for the very insightful question. I hope it helped. I hope you're still excited about Tempest. I'm sorry for the messy code I sometimes write in between meetings, but it's work in progress, and everyone can help out. Go to tempestphp.com. Okay, that's you can figure it out from there. So folks, I'm gonna have to enter stream. But yeah, really appreciate all of you being here. Leave a like, follow, subscribe, stuff like that. And then we'll see each other soon. Okay? Bye-bye.